Okay, so today we're recording a video in Flight Simulator for the first time in quite a long time. And the reason for that is my computer blew up. So I've got a brand new computer here. It's got an i7 chip in it, it's got an NVIDIA 3080 graphics card, it's got lots of RAM, lots of graphics RAM, and very fast storage. So the end result of all of that is we can now run in ultra graphics mode in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and also we can record OBS at full screen, full resolution, and you shouldn't get any stutters, so it should be nice and smooth. And I guess the point of today is just to have a look and see what ultra mode looks like. So we're in the CJ4, we're at Innsbruck airport, so we're going to go and power things on. Doing things very unconventionally here, so there's the pitot heat. Let's turn on the engines, so we switch them to run, then we hit the starters. We have to initialize our position, which we do here, and it's complaining we have no flight plan, so we're going to go into flight plan and go from LOWI to LOWI, LOWI to LOWI. 0 miles, which is correct. Performance initialization, we want to climb to 9,500 feet at least. And we're going to do a circuit of the airfield basically, so that's the minimum height of some of the peaks we will be passing by along the way. For takeoff we need to know the outside air temperature at LOWI, so we can go over here and right click, show information for Innsbruck in Little Nav Map, and then go and look at the weather report, and it tells us the temperature is 29 degrees centigrade. It's a hot day. I don't think there's any wind either. No wind in Innsbruck. So perfect for sightseeing really. So then we go to the legs page, and we're not going to use any standard instrument departures or standard approach routes, we're just going to put some waypoints in. So FF08, we're going to climb out onto FF08, just insert that one, give it a chance to find it, and it's asking which one we want, and it's the first one. It usually always puts the nearest waypoint to you first. Gov2 is the next one. GOVTU, put that in front of there. Obaga is the next one. OBAGA goes in front of there. Lux06 is the next one. LUX06. We will need to go to the next page so we can continue inserting. EO706, EO706, and then EO701, EO701. So basically all I've done here is picked out some waypoints that do a nice little circuit around Innsbruck. We also need the ILS tuned in, so let's have a look. It's 111.10. So let's go and look in the tuning page. Oh, we need to execute those legs that we programmed in. Tuning page 110.10. 111.10. It's on 110.10 at the moment. 111.10. Put that on nav 1. We switch the TCAS to TARA. I don't think it's operable in this aircraft yet, but may as well do it while we're at it. So let's have a look at the runway direction. It's 259 degrees, so we'll put 260 on the heading, which it already is. We need altitude, initial altitude climb out to be 9,500 feet. We're not going to use air traffic control to tell us any of this, we're just going to go and do the flight. So that's dialed in 9,500 feet. We can pre-enable vertical speed mode and say we want to climb at say 5,000 feet a minute, because the CJ4 can climb like crazy. So 5,000 feet a minute. We'll also, we didn't set heading mode, did we? It's set to 260, but we hadn't actually set heading. So what this means now is the autopilot is pre-configured for a heading of 260, and a vertical speed of 5,000 feet a minute up to 9,500 feet, which is great. Okay, so we've got the pitot heat on. We're pretty much ready to go. I'm not going to bother with the pushback because we've got room here to spin round. So, wheel brakes off. Actually, I'm going to turn the other way because there's a plane over to our left. I'm just moving the flaps as well to take off position. So we're going to fly up that valley. I'll get to the holding point for the runway and then pause and go and look on little nav map to show you where we're going. So you'll notice how smooth things are. I have got the simulator fixed with VSync to 30 frames a second, so if it has got leftover horsepower, it just means, you know, the fans aren't going to come on in the case, and I find that 30 frames a second is absolutely fine for flight simulators. It's smooth enough. Okay, so let's have a little look out the window. So you can see, like Innsbruck, the scenery is very good. Even though this is on the ultra options for the anti-aliasing, you can see it still kind of pixelates polygons here and there. Okay, so we're just coming up to the holding point for the runway. So brakes on. So let's go and look at where we are. So we're just coming up to the holding point. We'll turn left onto the runway and we'll get just off the ground, get the aircraft stable, and then we'll engage the autopilot. And at that point we'll start having a look at the scenery to see what ultra mode looks like. I've kind of got mixed views. I'll explain as we go. Obviously you can see the grass is being drawn to a much wider radius around us. That's one of the immediate standout things about it. Okay, we're pretty much ready to go. Just a quick look round. So it's got a far deck throttle. So it's got an electronically controlled throttle with various detents that mean things, but I'm not going to get into that today. CJ4 is quite easy to fly. I've got the working title mod installed, by the way, which obviously makes the FMC that bit more nice to use. So we're coming through 120 knots. I'm going to start rotating, and we're off the ground. Gear up, flaps up, 160 knots, 170 knots, and I'm going to engage the autopilot. So the autopilot is pulling us up into that 5,000 foot a minute climb, which it's doing, and we are still accelerating. Yeah? So I should have adjusted the QNH on the ground. I've just done it by pressing B. Let's change the format of the screen so we can see where we are on our flight plan. So we're just coming up to the first turn. Now we were in heading mode, we've now engaged nav mode, so it's going to make the right turn for us. So this is quite good actually, way that I did that late, because you get to see the aircraft intercept the line. Otherwise it would just have very neatly, made the turn early to intercept the line. So we're still full throttle. And let's have a look.
Altitude.
And see what ultra mode really means. Yeah, it's just the quality of the drawing, isn't it? So we're just levelling out at 9,500 feet. Pull the engine back. Don't want to go faster than 250 knots. In fact, let's go for a little bit higher. This is cutting it a bit fine, so we're going to go to 12,000 and go to vertical speed mode again and say, can we climb to 12,000 at 2,000 feet a minute, just to get above these peaks basically. So there we go. This is ultra mode. Pretty much looks like a photograph. Let's have a look from outside. So obviously the textures are being loaded for a much wider radius than they otherwise would have been. It does cause trouble though with the graphics card keeping up. Sorry, with the internet connection keeping up with downloading the scenery data. So if you're in a very busy place like a photogrammetry city, you can run into a lot of problems with that unless you've got a fibre internet connection. Okay, let's have a look, make sure we're not going too fast. Oh, we're getting to quite fast, but we're above 10,000 feet now, so it's not a major issue. So I'm cutting the throttle back to 50%. You can see the FARDEX system, you can see the throttle is showing, although I'm at 69%, it's actually reflecting cruise mode. So it tunes the engines to the mode that you know, to do with where your throttle has been positioned. Okay, so we're coming up to Obaga. We can zoom in and out on this map so we can see where we are around our circuit. So this is Microsoft Flight Simulator running in ultra graphics mode. The machine is an i7 with, I forget if it's 8 or 10 cores, it's quite a powerful i7. They've got, I think, 5 gigahertz limit. They typically idle at 3.6 gigahertz. The graphics card is an NVIDIA 3080 RTX. So it's not the top of the top, but it's pretty close. The C drive, I've actually got the simulator installed on D drive. C drive has got it's an SSD with a throughput of 7,000 megabits per second, and the D drive is about 3,000 megabits per second. So it's still quite a lot faster than a traditional hard drive. Or megabytes per second, I should say. You can still see in the distance it's still the same as kind of the same fidelity you would see in medium detail. It's just the close radius for quite a long way around you. You get the full textures and all of the ground scenery. So it does seem to be an enormous amount of grunt required to make quite a small change really to the visual fidelity. I would argue that if you're using a machine that supports medium level graphics, that's plenty good enough. That's what I had before. And it isn't a marked difference to go up to Ultra. You're just getting a longer draw distance. Okay, how are we doing? So we need to start thinking about descending soon. So let's have a look at our route. So when we get to the middle of that next leg, that's when we start descending properly. So let's get the speed off before we get there. So when we're along this leg here, we'll start descending. We should see a valley below us at that point. So engines are back to 50%. The speed is gently coming off. Looking good. So we can go into the index page in here and look at progress as well, which is quite cool. So it tells you your ETS estimated time of egress, I guess, at each waypoint. So it's just bleeding the speed off gently. I'll just arrest that so it doesn't slow down too much. So looking at the map, yeah, there's a big valley coming. That's the one we can see here. We're going to fly along it and descend. So I'm going to start descending already, so we haven't got a big panic about doing so. So let's come down to 5,000 feet. Vertical speed 1,000 feet a minute for the moment. Let's just check what the height of the airfield is. Show information for Innsbruck. Overview. Elevation is to 2,000. Yeah, so that's perfect. So if I can get to 5,000 feet for beginning of the ILS. So we'll come down a bit more steeply. Let's throw out the air brakes. So we're going to make a 90-degree turn. We're going to go along the valley. I guess it's this one we're actually going to go along, not that one. Yeah, because we fly over the lake. So let's increase our rate of descent even further. This is just a plane chasing the navigation line. The CJ4 isn't great at that. Let's have a look from outside because we're just going to skim this hilltop. Put the air brakes back away.
Autopilot.
It's okay, let's go manual. Just going to cut this corner off a little bit. Plane's being thrown around by a little bit of turbulence.
Altitude.
So let's have a look on the map, see where we are. So we are going to make a left turn. So we're going for the next valley. So where are we in relation to our map? So if we go back onto autopilot now. We're at 5,000 feet and we're just rejoining the line. Let's sit up so we can see over the nose. So we should come around this corner. Just increasing the engine slightly to hold 180 knots. Don't really want to slow down any more than that. So we should start the turn towards the approach for LOWI. You can see, yep, it's looking good. So way up the valley, we should see Innsbruck soon. So if we go and have a look at the map, yeah, we're just making the turn in, and then fairly soon in the far distance we should start to see the runway. Okay, so let's zoom in slightly, a bit more maybe. And turn the autopilot off. The flaps down. I'm going to go out to the left side of the valley for the approach. Gear down. The only reason we're going over to the left side of the valley is so we get a cleaner run into the airfield. You can see the runway down there already in the distance. Or is that it? Further up? No, there it is, sorry. It's a road. There's the airfield. So let's see where we pick the ILS up. Let's go and just make sure we have got this tuned in. 111.10 on nav1. So that should pick it up. Around the same point we come into EO 701. See the runways just out there. Speed up a little bit. So outside while we're flying along. There's the airfield. So while we're flying along, let's have a look at the aeroplane. Flight sim looks very nice, doesn't it? Should we turn on the lights? Landing lights on, turn the seat belts on, let's have a look outside. Try out them in different modes and see what we get. full flaps. I'm keeping the view high above the nose on purpose so you get a good view of the ground basically. Yeah, I'm a bit, what's the word? I'm of mixed mind about the ultra mode, because yes, you can see everything, but you can see everything pixelated into the distance as well. So it kind of, the closer you get to really high fidelity graphics, the further away it looks from real. It's a kind of a difficult thing to explain. I mean, it does help that it's incredibly smooth. Okay, and we're down. Flaps up. Don't even need the thrust reverse. Well, there is no thrust reverse on the CJ4, so there's no need to think about it. Okay, and turn off the runway. Just quietly taxi back. So there you go, Innsbruck with a CJ4 in Microsoft Flight Simulator with Ultra graphics mode, just to see what the differences are. I don't think the differences are that marked. I think if you're happily flying around in medium mode on your PC, then that's absolutely fine. That's what I was using in the past. And yes, it looks a little bit prettier, but it doesn't functionally change the simulator at all, having the graphics turned up. And you know, for the cost benefit, if you wanted to look at it that way, of taking your PC up to the level that can run Ultra mode, I would question whether it's worth it. If you're quite happy with flying around as you are at the moment, that bus is going to run straight into us, isn't it? Well done. They are kamikazes, aren't they, in this game? It's quite hilarious at times. Should we pull in next to this Airbus? There we go. So, a quick circuit of Innsbruck in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And here comes the bus to get us again. Is he going to stop? Let's just sit and watch this to see if he does. Oh, and he has. Is he going to let our passengers in? No, he's going to keep creeping forwards until he runs into the wing. You know, just to keep them up going with their repair service, I imagine. Is he going to keep creeping? Keep creeping? Oh! What's the driver of the bus called? Dangerous Brian or something? Okay, anyway, I'm going to stop the recording there. So that was, yeah, Ultra Graphics Mode in 2020 or Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'll see you again soon.